think the biggest way that we can kind of set the tone for the conversation is tell me what is like. I mean, you're involved in so much right now.
It sounds like it.
Hatch,
Yeah,
there's the real estate. I mean, and these are not small projects.
No.
So what is it that like initially inspired you to like be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I would say my biggest like driving factor, or what gets me up in the morning, is a love for the community and the concept of community.
Oh, yeah.
And what we can do to make it better. I'm really always been like a little local politics nerd and stuff. So love policy and governmental relations and how the community grows and how it's plays such a big role in it. Yeah. So I really am driven by a belief that the community isn't about just belonging to something; it's doing something together that makes belonging matter.
Oh yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, so I'm always trying to help and do, and that's where these other concepts kind of have come from. Is really just that's my ethos.
What's up, guys?
How's
Welcome
it
to season 2 of What's Next Huntsville. We've got an exciting guest today.
Yeah,
Garrett, we connected. I think I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw your profile come up with what you're doing with Hatch.
Sure.
And such a cool initiative there.
Yeah.
But
So y'all don't know each other, like from outside?
No,
like
no,
JP2
we just
is
met.
Just
Oh,
a
awesome.
coincidence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very
for
cool.
sure.
Yeah. But when I saw that, I started looking into the other things you've got going on. I mean, you've got your hand in a bunch of buckets.
Sure.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
What Sean was mentioning just a minute ago about the social club that we're trying to do is we're really trying to create a atmosphere of Renaissance men, of people who are doing a bunch of different things, who have capabilities.
And women.
Yeah, and women too. Sorry.
And Renaissance people.
Renaissance people, exactly.
We gotta just say that.
But that's one of the reasons that made me initially jump out and say, "Hey, let's get you lined up to come on the podcast." Awesome. But to give you guys a little bit of background, is there's the initiative Hatch. You've been involved in politics. You're also involved in real estate. And we want to say thank you to Scott McLean for letting us use this space.
Great.
I hope that you like this.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Set
This
the
is
vibe,
great.
right?
Nice vibe for sure.
Good,
Awesome.
good. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it. So,
sure.
As I said, you've got your hand in a bunch of buckets.
Yeah.
So, real quickly, could you just stay kind of high level on what each initiative is and what it does?
Yeah.
And start with Hatch.
Yeah. So, what I like to say is I wear many hats and they all fit perfectly.
You got to make them fit.
Yeah, exactly.
Trust me, we know about wearing the hats.
Yeah, this is true.
And so Hatch is a high-level workforce development nonprofit that my business partner and I, Beth Boyer, co-founded. What we do is over the course of an 8-week program, we empower young adults to lead a self-sufficient life. We accomplish this by combining life skills workshops with industry-standard culinary and hospitality training into the program. So that's what Hatch does. Cool. Really cool. We have a whole staff and everything, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And then Beth and I, we also own and invest and develop real estate together. So we have a portfolio of single family projects and some multifamily projects, but we also purchased the old West Lawn Middle School. So we redeveloped that building into office space. And so that's one of our projects. And we have a few other larger commercial projects in our pipeline and stuff. So there's
that's
amazing. And then I do consulting and things of that nature. So which used to be a larger client book, and now it's really just one client. So I work for Kathy Anderson at Woody Anderson Ford. I manage her special projects, which is everything from her construction and expansion to EV infrastructure lobbying or working with governmental relations in the city and things of that nature. So she's got a lot.
Policies are coming in.
Yeah, exactly. It all matches up, but she's got a lot going on. So I'm a little bit of a jack of all trades there as well.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of questions about these things, and I want to dive into each of them separately. But starting out with the Hatch project, is that for anybody, or is it for maybe a
so what we say is
service community?
So we say opportunity youth is the term, which is like a new term for at-risk youth or things of that nature. So opportunity youth, ages 18 to 24. What we're really after is maybe it's not even necessarily a financial disadvantage, but somebody who just wouldn't have the an opportunity
the
like
tools
this.
and resources to,
Exactly.
So you go through and you train them in these different things or give them some skills.
Yeah, so our number one goal is the life skills. So they're the intrinsic values that we're focused on that lead to a self-sufficient life. So it's what I'm referring to as the reasons that you wake up every day, I wake up every day, and we get after it. And so that's really difficult to instill in somebody. Those are things that we were instilled with over a long period of time. So that's our number one goal, is those life skills, intrinsic values to leading a self-sufficient life. Things like financial literacy, conflict resolution, conversation skills, you name it, how to get an apartment, all of those things as well. And then we teach them the industry standard culinary and hospitality training. So how to be a cook, how to be a line cook, how to be a server, work in the restaurant industry. So what you'll notice is that I didn't tell you that our primary focus was to train waiters, or our primary focus isn't to train line cooks. Our primary focus is to give these young adults the tools to leading a self-sufficient life. They can do that in any industry. Hospitality is a great one because it's low barrier to entry and all those things. Yeah. But what we have found that some of our graduates have gone to Mazda Toyota, or they've gone into automotive technicians or things in other industries. But the core tenets of being successful are what we're trying to instill in them.
That's awesome. Yeah. I just want to touch on the finance thing, because that is a huge topic that is so necessary in day-to-day life, that is not taught enough in schools or at home, because a lot of people don't come from a blessed background of having this knowledge given to them through parents or other people around them. So I think that's great. Like, I love what you're doing, and I think that is like really needed. And, definitely, like, as you said earlier, helping out the community and just seeing, like, that's kind of why we do the podcast, is because we want to see other entrepreneurs flourish. And I think that's awesome that you're trying to want to see everybody flourish,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So we love it. And the financial literacy is key component to this, to the program.
Absolutely.
And one thing that I think comes out of the mission that you're working on is that community of people who then come and get together and talk about, like, how, what their journey has been. Yeah. And that's kind of like, going back to what you said with why we do this is, like, with these different individuals, everybody's at different stages in their professional journey and their sort of ascension into who they will be. Sure. And it's so cool that, like, I think there's so much value in communities that really are showing that they are investing in people and other communities that aren't necessarily like set up with these things. They don't know intrinsically, like what you said. Sure. Those life skills are so essential. Yeah. And what was it that, like, started that idea?
Yeah. So it was 5 years ago, June of 2019. I remember the moment vividly. I was at the country club with Beth, and we were discussing workforce development, and there was a lot of things going on in our community. The Toyota plant was under construction. We were poised for a lot of growth. And at the country club, she had experience with young adults who wanted to work. Some of them maybe walked to the club and things of that nature, but didn't possess the skills to keep a job. They got the job, but they couldn't keep the job. So she just mentioned something to me offhanded, and from that point on, in June of 2019, I was the research bug. I pushed it forwards with her and kind of said, okay, we can really do this. And it took a little while. It was that Christmas we went to the Christmas RCP companies, which is the master developers of Mid-City and things of that nature. We went to their Christmas party, and we were talking to Remy and Max and about this concept, and they just freaked out about it. They were like, "This is amazing. We need this in order to recruit restaurants, right?" Mm-hmm. And they're recruiting those great sources of hospitality in our community. So I vividly remember we got into the car at their office at Merchants Walk, and she and I get in the car, and we said, okay, if Remy and Max think that this is cool, we have to do it, because Remy and Max are so cool. They only have great ideas. Mm-hmm. And so from that point on, we had so much positive affirmation, because we were supposed to take a trip up to Salem, Massachusetts that October that fell apart because Beth wasn't mentally ready. She didn't think we could do it. And so by that December, and I'm pushing, which that's my personality. But after that Christmas party, we were like, okay, we got to do this.
Yeah.
So it was really fun. And so, yeah, the rest is history.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So what about the real estate? That obviously came later.
Yeah. So what kind of happened is 2020 comes around. We go to New Orleans with Remy and Max and the RCP team, and they arranged with Octo Hospitality, which is a hospitality consultant that's from New Orleans. Remy and Max met in school in New Orleans, so there's a lot of connection there. And there's 3 organizations that are like Hatch in New Orleans. So we go down, we have a great time, and then we come back. That's February, March, I swear I came back on the plane with COVID. It was like right there around COVID time. So we're like, okay, we need to do this. Yeah. So from that point on, in the COVID spring and all of that stuff, we're filing with the IRS. We're getting our entity set up. We're getting the tax status. We're working with the attorneys, all of that. So as that was going on, we knew that we were going to need a place to run the program, right? The idea from our trip to New Orleans, the ideal space would be something with a large kitchen, classroom space, and maybe this restaurant component to it as well. So from that point, we started looking at real estate and things of that nature, and we really enjoyed the Low Mill neighborhood. And so we bought outside of the nonprofit as a for-profit entity, we bought a piece of real estate along Seminole Drive. And we started working with a team of amazing architects at Chapman Sisson. And Martin Sisson says to us, based on your wish list here, you're going to need a little bit more space. And so then I was like, okay, well, let's buy the next lot. And then it was like, then we go back and we talk to everyone, and they're like, oh, maybe we get a few more lots. And so it was about 6 or 7 different closings for 10 different parcels of land that we stitched together. It's about 1.5 acres of property. That's incredible. That along Seminole Drive, and then half of it on Summer. And so that was August was, I think, our first closing. And by and then we got a little bit of a bug, and I was like, I'm pretty good at this. And we really bought a ton of real estate. I would say within the 6 months after that August, or 10 months, I was counting before I got here. So I think that it was 21 houses, another 6 vacant lots, properties, and then a 90,000 square foot middle school.
I like how we had a guy come on, and he was kind of revitalizing spaces like that. And I love how, did you keep anything from the school?
Yeah, you guys will have to come and check it out.
Yeah, I would love to.
For sure. There's definitely some historic elements. The building's also there.
Exactly. So, you got to keep that historical element, but then kind of revitalize or rejuvenate it into something new. And I think that kind of plays into, I love that y'all kind of chose the Low Mill area, because I know
we love that area.
For a while it's been kind of struggling, but if y'all coming in and other people coming in can kind of make that area someplace to be. For
sure. And so that was one of the reasons we, at that point, the growth in that area was already going, right? 2020, there was already new homes were being built, but we felt that putting Hatch there, we were able to say to the young adults in that community, or living at Butler Terrace on the other side of Governors, that having an opportunity to participate in this program, because the neighborhood was shifting, right? There was going to be $600,000, $700,000 houses, whether we did this or not. But maybe by putting Hatch there, we could help turn around a 19-year-old's life where they can be able to afford a home like that. And so we just felt, and it's the G word, gentrification was happening. But by our choice of putting the organization there, what could we do for the people that have called it home for generations? And so that they have those opportunities.
And it's right next to them. That's even the best. They could walk there.
Exactly. So exactly.
And that's considered West Huntsville too, right?
Yeah, West Huntsville. Okay. Yeah. Not, there's West Huntsville, like in town West Huntsville, and then some people refer to it as way
Like out
out
in
there.
Madison or
Yeah,
something?
the Madison part. But yeah,
It's close to. It's almost like near not mid city. That's towards like Orion, but it's like right there where like Stove House and all
downtown's
that.
the Governor's Core. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great area.
Yeah. So you're starting Hatch, the real estate kind of opportunities fall into your lap with
Well,
that.
yes.
And it was supporting Hatch.
Originally, that's why originally when we started to form a real estate holding company, it was to buy the property for Hatch. Within a few weeks after that, we formed 2 other holding companies, and we were buying a lot of real. Oh yeah, we were moving and grooving. It was an insane amount of purchasing in 9 months or 10 months. Insane.
So fast forward to now, how much real estate do y'all have under those companies?
It's
I remember
so of the 21 houses, like we've knocked a few of them over. We've sold 1. We've sold 2.
Okay.
We've sold 2, but actually in the 21 count, I forgot one of them. So we still have a handful of homes, like 15 homes.
Yeah.
And then all of the commercial stuff and everything like that. So it's become a big portfolio, and we have the core of the projects are along 9th Avenue. So the middle school starts on 9th and Jordan.
Right.
And then we have the J.C. Brown building at Jordan and Triana, the historic general store. And then you go further down by the mill, and that's where that other 1.5 acres is. So we can do a lot of construction on those sites because there's a lot of open land and stuff.
So on like the business strategizing side, I'm very interested because the sequencing makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're building up something that supports this area, and then you're literally investing into that community by buying these homes, by putting your spaces there. So what was it like? Obviously these I mean, we've been experienced in this, that when you have an initial idea, the vision of it is one thing, and then when you start doing these incremental steps, the vision completely changes. So what was it that led you to this specific like sequence of it?
So we really we knew that area was poised for growth, right? So like we knew it was going to be a good investment. Mm-hmm. We also have a passion for historic properties. And really, really beautiful things. So we the majority of our properties are historic. And we enjoy that process quite a bit, and revitalization. So we kind of have a little bit of a bug with that. The sequence, I got to be honest with you. Interest rates were so low, and we bought a ton of real estate.
Yeah, you took advantage of the opportunity.
We bought a ton of real estate in a very short amount of time. So much so that we're still working on getting everything activated 4 years later. But we bought a ton of real estate, so it's been very fun.
That's I love everything that y'all are doing. It sounds like you're on a very successful path, and I congratulate you with that. I think we are kind of staying at a high level with this stuff. One thing I kind of want to bring it down to maybe something that can benefit our viewers is doing all this obviously has built your skills with lots of different things. What would you say to somebody that wants to get into real estate or get into starting a project for the community? What are things that they strengths that they need to have, or things that they could maybe do, or resources they could use to maybe be in your position?
So I would say there's lots of people out there that talk about getting started in real estate. Like, just scroll down your TikTok or your
really
like,
the gurus.
It all sounds like, okay, we've bought 30 things and we're cash flowing this, and we just get the mortgage, and we finagle this, and we like, there is some of that in the business, like there is some of that, but like that is not the primary thing to focus on. I would say that my number one thing that has contributed the number one skill set that has been helpful is relationship building and coalition building. It takes a lot of trust to do any of this with somebody, and so the relationships and you have to be genuine. You once you're in and you're passionate about it. So there's no question, Beth and I have an amazing relationship, and each of us know where our passions are. And that's why if she's in a pickle or I'm in a pickle, we have the utmost respect for each other, and we're able to work through it in a very, very positive fashion. So I would say relationship building and just being passionate and genuine is like the number one thing somebody can do, and the other things will come. I don't need to tell you how to leverage money to buy a property. You can Google that. But knowing your neighborhoods, knowing your areas, and knowing people is the most important thing.
That's one of the biggest things for us, is like really figuring out what it is that makes that needle move for progress when it comes to young entrepreneurs, young professionals. And with what Hatch does, it very much it's focused on young professionals, but it is a specific level of that. And then there's more progression later. But trying to figure out, especially like as we're all on this journey of what is it that we should be doing right now, and what should we be doing today? What should this week's focus be? Those are questions that everybody asks themselves, no matter what stage, whatever level they are. But as you said, that community, that being kind of like the driving factor, I love that. And I think community or cities like Huntsville, cities like Birmingham as well, they need that in order to retain some life in the ecosystem, you know? Like we need young professionals that are getting together, having parties or having networking nights.
For sure.
And all of these things. And also one thing is like being able to tie in those creative people too. Because like with Hatch, it's so focused on these aspects that really make somebody valuable to an employer, whether it's in hospitality or food or whatever. And so it's such an interesting thing. And like going back to the thing that I was thinking about when I mentioned the sequencing, is business is so much of like Tetris almost, or like these other games where it's building blocks that you don't know what the structure is going to look like. It might look like this dang plant right here. It might look like this picture. You never know. And so it's fascinating to see kind of like how these pieces all fit together. But what was it like for you? Like you mentioned that initial conversation with Miss Boyer, but what was it for you that like, okay, this is what I need to do as the founder of this organization, like with Hatch in specific?
Okay. Like why, like when it was like, yes, we need to do this? Okay. So the moment when it was really like, yes, was when we went to New Orleans. We went to New Orleans and we heard from other graduates of these other programs, and it just makes too much sense, right? We love the idea of capitalism and empowerment and all of those things. So when we could hear from somebody, I think it was a young lady at Liberty's Kitchen. She was maybe in her 30s, and she had gone through the program a long time ago, and she was brought to tears, and like we were like so touched. And I remember actually vividly also, we walked out of their doors, and we were in between the doors and the shuttle we were in, and I said, like we have to, and it was absolutely necessary. And the first thing that we did, where we knew we did it right, so we do this lunch, and you guys will have to come sometime after it, during every cohort. It was our first cohort, and this would have been this time 3 years ago, and so we're there with leaders and city council members and all of this, that, and this one girl said, and we go around the table and we're asked what is so meaningful about Hatch, what has changed and what has happened. This is the first end of our 8-week program. Like it's like, did we get the recipe right? And she says, and she says, what I didn't realize, what I realize now. And again, the before I tell you this, the people that we have in there, so many of them are through the foster care program. They're, one has been on trial before under house arrest. This is a wide variety of young adults who haven't had a lot of opportunity. So she says to the table, what I realize now, what I didn't realize before, is that there's people out there in the community that you may never know, you may never see them, but their hands are at work making our lives better. And it was not only that she understood that concept and how appreciative of that it was of people's work. So I mean, we were super confident, and that Hatch is my number one most passionate thing that I'm doing. Like it's amazing, and we have a big vision with it. So
tell me about that.
So we believe that that there's a demand for this across other communities. So like we were talking about earlier, we're going to build a facility eventually, and we're working actually with some exciting organizations on that. But eventually we see this being in all kinds of communities across North Alabama, popping one up in Florence, Athens, Decatur, Scottsboro, Grant, because what we believe that there are young adults in those communities, and even more so sometimes economically disadvantaged or different. It's all different, right? When you're in an urban core versus out in a rural county. And so we want to build these. They're almost like $4 million centers with a full staff, and build 6 of them across the region. And that's the big vision. It's a $30-40 million vision, but over a long period of time. Luckily, I'm young, so we can carry it.
And you're creating jobs with that. You know, you're helping people, you know, build the skills to be in the workforce, but also you're employing people by having these facilities. So, you know, you're stimulating the economy in multiple different ways.
Tons of ways.
And I just find that really inspiring because like for where I am in my current life, I don't really feel like I'm doing much or I'm really breaking like anything, like any boundaries, or I'm not like really adding to the community. And that's why I'm trying to do this podcast, for one, is because I've had a lot of people reach out to me after our first season of the podcast where they were like, oh my gosh, I love that what you're doing. I would want to start my own podcast. Yeah. And I'm like, really? It's not that hard. Like, go and get a phone and just like talk into it. Like that's the big thing, is that we are not trying to gatekeep any information. We want to have it all out there for everyone. So like, just, you know, from everything you've said so far, I'm really inspired by what you're doing for not only the community, but for yourself and your family. And, you know, that's just awesome. Like I wish you nothing but the best and all the success in the world. And I think you're going to get it, whether I say that or not.
We need more young professionals that are in this same mindset. Yeah. Because just as you said, I mean, most people don't, like, especially when it comes to starting a podcast, they're like Alex Hormozy, he says that confidence comes from having a stack of undeniable evidence that you are who you say you are. And with each business initiative, with each thing that comes up, it's like you have to get something out there, get a proof of concept, and then work through, okay, this went wrong, this is how we can fix it, et cetera, et cetera. And Hatch, I imagine, is like this grand tapestry of being able to do that. And it's been, you know, formed from your experience that you've spoken about so far. And I want to ask, like, what would, you know, going back to what Sean was talking about, especially with young professionals trying to start an initiative, what would be your key pieces of advice when it comes to, like, when I asked about the first few things that y'all did when you were like, this is the thing that we want to do. What would your advice be? Yeah,
so if somebody's got a little itch on something they think that they can have an impact, first things first, I would say, do everything in your power not to start it, because we have so many nonprofits in this community. So what I say by that is, do your research and make sure it's not already being done. Make sure that there's not an organization where you could collaborate with, and because it takes a lot of mechanisms just even getting the 501c3. It takes a lot of manpower. So is there a way?
That's a nonprofit designation?
Yeah, nonprofit with the IRS. So is there a way you could do this differently with something else? And we did a lot of research. We met with people. We're like, is this being done? Is this? And because we don't want to reinvent the wheel or duplicate the wheel. What we like to say is collaboration, not duplication, because then our community is not working as efficiently as possible. So if somebody has a community impact itch, just scratch it enough to make sure that you really need to pursue it. And by all means, obviously I was somebody who we ended up pursuing it, and we've started an organization. So not saying don't do it, but just make sure that you're thinking through it and do some research on the other nonprofits. There's about 330, I think the number's 3,900 nonprofits in the county.
That's incredible.
Something like that. So there's a lot of them. So and one thing about Hatch, that I like to clarify is that Beth and I, we really are, it's a passion project for us. So neither she nor I take any salary or payment from the organization. We do have we have an executive chef, we have a program director, we have a therapist, so we have a handful of team members, and we have an entire cafe. So we do have a large payroll. Neither she nor I take any money from it. I may sneak a cookie every now and then, but we didn't create Hatch to create jobs for ourselves. We created Hatch to change people's lives.
Yeah, that's a great mission, because I am kind of like, I guess, more of a selfish person in a way of, I feel like I have to, like, I want to give back so bad, but I feel like in my mind I almost like can't give back the way I want until I'm fully set up. And I think that kind of foregoing that in, like, in a way you did is good, but I see a lot of people, because I watch a lot of financial videos and stuff like this, it'll be people are giving their last dollars to GoFundMe's and different donation things, and it's like the guys that are, you know, doing the financial audit are like, listen, pay yourself and then you can give back 10x. Yeah. And I think that's kind of where my mind is, of like, let me get straight and then, but I love how you're like making it happen all together.
Yeah. Well, you know? we're trying to, but I would say, you know, there's like in Dave Ramsey's thing, he says, live like nobody else so you can live like nobody else. Well, what if I die? Like, what if, like, we have to seize the moment as well? Obviously I love personal finance and I love investing and I love all of those things. So I understand what Dave's saying, but especially with your time, if you want to start helping the community, I would encourage you to pursue that, because there's never a perfect time. I'm not, you know, I don't feel set in my life at all. And I was recently watching this thing that said, you know, the majority of people who, which you always want more, the people who, it was a questionnaire on people who have like a $10 to $25 million net worth. Some firm did a study across the country, or blah, blah, blah. And it said, do you feel financially stable? And like 78% of them said no.
Oh, wow.
Like they just don't like, so
you're just never getting there.
There's always, I accidentally clicked this button.
No, you're good. It's fine.
So maybe, you know, if you want to do something, do it, is what I would say.
No, I know what you mean, because it's always like, I saw a reel, actually. I know we were talking about social media corruption earlier, but it was like a guy, it was like the millionaire in the first class wants to be the billionaire in the private jet. Yeah. And then it was like, okay, the business guy in a nice car wants to be the millionaire in first class. Yeah. And then it was like the employee in a Toyota wants to be the businessman in a Ferrari. And then it was down to the guy on a bicycle wants to be the guy in the Honda. And then the guy on the street wants to be the guy on the bicycle. So it's like, you got to like remember, and I had a great conversation with, I forget who it was, but we was talking about, you got to just like enjoy and feel how blessed you are. I think it was a coworker of mine, like where you are at this stage, because I'm 23 years old. I'm never going to be 23 years old again. And I just got to enjoy that and not try to be like, oh, I need more or want more or whatever.
This is something that just like with partners is sort of the thing. And I'd like to ask you about that, because just as Sean's describing the way he is, I'm like nearly the exact opposite. I'm like getting after it every single moment of every day. I'm like, I love philosophy. I love memento mori for sure. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm like, every morning I'm downing my espressos, looking forward to who I'm going to talk to that day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Making it happen.
And it's sort of like, it's more like for Sean, just as he was describing, for me, it's the opposite in the sense of, it's like, I don't want to wait. Like, this has to happen. Yeah. Now,
You've got like nervous energy about it.
Luckily, Dylan has, and this is shout out to Dylan, because we would have these conversations, and I love talking with Dylan because he is so energetic and enthusiastic, and I can get that vibe from you. I love your vibe of like wanting to come in. Like, I would love to have you in like meetings, because you can really direct the meeting and have like a, you know, we're getting work done.
Things done, you know? For sure.
But the thing was, is for the longest time, Dylan was this way, but just recently he was like, maybe I'm a tad bit delusional. Like, you finally, like you came to your senses of being like, maybe I'm a tad bit delusional, but that's okay, because I'm gonna make it happen anyway. But it's like, it's almost like the self-awareness of like, okay, let's just like come back to reality just a tad.
Yeah.
Like I'm all for living in space, but there is a sense of reality. And it cracked me up that one day that you said that. You're like, maybe I'm delusional, but that's okay because I'm going to keep doing it. I'm like, okay, at least you know you're sounding a little delusional here.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and that's kind of probably just part of the process of entrepreneurship, of progression, is like, you know, having that sense of being able to say that, you know, that maybe this doesn't work. Maybe it completely transitions. Maybe in 10 years, Hatch becomes something completely different.
Yeah.
But being able to say that and recognize that and still have confidence that you're doing the right thing is like the biggest thing. But yeah, no, what he was talking about, I stepped away. I was in Europe for like 2.5 months. I was studying for part of it, but the majority of it was just traveling and having fun. But when you separate yourself from the doing, you start doing more of the visioning.
Yeah. You're able, and you come back and execute.
Exactly.
You need to take that time.
And like I've been back 3 weeks and some change.
Okay.
And like the entire time since I've been back, it's just been like absolutely go time.
Espresso time.
Yeah. So for you, like getting this conversation back to the topic of Hatch and the real estate and all of that, what is the biggest thing for you that like separates you from your day-to-day work that inspires you to have that energy when you come back?
What do I do in my personal life that inspires me?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So my personal life is so not personal. I love my work. So a lot of, and my brother works for us and we're very intertwined and it becomes a family affair and all of those things. So I work out every day. And I enjoy working out. I enjoy Beth and I. We enjoy red wine, so we do wine club. We enjoy food. We enjoy cooking and socializing. One of my biggest recharges is like an amazing dinner party, which sounds so goofy.
No, that's great.
I love a dinner party. Chef Ruth, which is awesome. Like it's great to have your best friend chef on the payroll at the nonprofit. 'Cause I'm like, can you come over for a night? And she ends up helping us all the time. So there's lots of fun things, but I enjoy socializing. But all of my pretty much all of my best friends are my work people, and so it's just I'm just one of those people that lives a life like that, and I'm never really off. But
would you say that my answer is pretty the same?
No, I'm becoming more so like that. I know Dylan is like that, but for me, I've always worked jobs that were kind of like, okay, I go and punch a clock, I clock in, and then I clock out. I'm kind of like, oh, I'm like out of it now. Yeah. And now as I'm growing older and I'm going into where I work now, I'm going to the office and I come home and I go to my home office and it's like, it feels like it's more all conjoined and it's all like one thing. Like I'm feeling like, okay, I don't just punch a clock and I'm not just clocking in for these hours. Like it's like I'm always on.
Sure.
Like I'm just always on, and then I go to sleep, and then it's like I wake up, I'm on again. And I really like that. I want to, like, how are you guys? I know that you said you're expanding out with Hatch and trying to get into these more rural.
Well, that's a big vision. We got to build our one here.
So what is progression like today or tomorrow that you're doing to further Hatch in Huntsville?
So progression is.
Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. So sorry about this, guys. We had technical difficulties with the phone. The recording got messed up, and we had a great conversation there just to end the podcast out. But
yeah, is there any last thoughts from you?
No, I mean, I really appreciate your time, and you guys are hustling out there, so keep it going. Yeah, this is awesome. Appreciate you guys having me here, and hopefully didn't talk your ears off too much.
No,
it was a really fun time for sure.
Could sit here and talk all day, and I'm so disappointed because I think the part that got cut off was us talking about some of the fundraising you're doing and all that. But that'll wait. You'll just have to wait because hopefully we'll have them back on the next season. And who knows where we'll be at or what we'll be doing by then. But we want to continue making awesome content for y'all. Keep putting awesome guests in front of you because we really have leveled up so much from where we started. And we want to we do this for y'all to get knowledge from our guests and for us to get knowledge and network, but also show that anybody can do this stuff. Just learning from Garrett here, he had this idea wanted to make it a reality, and he's done it, and he's did it. And that's like for our podcast is we don't have tons of money that we're putting into this. We just have built it up from the ground, and y'all can too. So really, whatever you're doing, stay, do your market research, keep scratching the itch, but I believe in y'all, and I appreciate the support. And as we mentioned earlier, if you know anybody that might be a good fit for Hatch, reach out to Garrett or reach out to
apply on our website. Hatch, it'll be linked. Check it out for sure.
Absolutely, we're excited to see what's next from you.
Yeah, for sure.
And until then, we can you guys can catch more of what's next with us on season 2, and look forward to new episodes coming soon.
Yeah.
Thank you again very much. Really appreciate this.
Thank you.
See you guys next time. Peace.